Some horror movies explode at the box office and get talked about for decades, but others, they slip under the radar and are unrecognized. And the crazy part is, they are just as good, if not better, than the same movies that blew up. So today we're shining a light on 5 underrated horror movies that you need to watch. And when I say underrated, I don't mean niche or obscure movies. I'm talking about movies that I feel are underappreciated and not talked about as much as they deserve. You know, some movies like Halloween, The Exorcist are talked about over and over, week after week. But these movies, I feel, are also great and should be talked about way more. Before we jump into this, if I deserve it, if I have earned it, drop a like and hit that subscribe button. It helps me a ton more than you could ever know. And if, while you're watching these, drop down in the comments what you think about these movies and any underrated gems that you like so I can check those out as well. Because, I like to see underrated movies and I want to check those out if I haven't heard of them. Alright, without further ado, let's get into these 5 underrated horror movies. The first movie we're going to be talking about is Frailty from 2001. This is an awesome psychological horror movie that I feel deserves way more attention. The story follows a man looking back on his childhood in rural Texas, where his father suddenly believes he's been chosen by God to destroy demons living among them. As the memories unfold, you're never sure if it's divine mission or a terrifying delusion. Now, this one is super eerie and has such an interesting premise that sticks with you like way after you've finished the movie. And I never hear people talking about this, which is crazy because it stars Matthew McConaughey and also Bill Paxton. This is his directorial debut, and he also plays the dad in this movie as well and delivers a phenomenal performance as well. What I love most is how it blurs faith and madness. Like, it's not your typical horror movie. You kind of watch it and then you just still think about it days to come after and are trying to put together what you just saw. Maybe even a week after you've actually watched the movie. Totally underrated. Fun fact, this was actually Bill Paxton's directorial debut and he absolutely knocked it out of the park. This is the type of movie that critics praised when it came out, but horror fans still overlooked it. And that's why I feel it is just still underrated and deserves more love. You can find Frailty streaming on both Tubi and Pluto TV, which are both free, so go check it out and give it a shot. The second movie on this list is The Collector from 2009. This is what you get if a brutal home invasion movie had a baby with Saw. The film follows a desperate man who breaks into a house intending to rob it, only to discover someone far more dangerous has already taken control. A sadistic figure known as the Collector has rigged the home with deadly traps, turning the break-in into a nightmare fight for survival. This one is probably the most well-known on this list, but even so, it still deserves way more love than it gets. It's unapologetically gory, and it's filled with a bunch of sadistic and interesting traps that kind of make you wince while you're watching them. They really do hurt. And it's just super interesting how this unfolds. What sets it apart is it does have a final boy, which is different from, the final girl cliche that we usually have. And he's actually goated. Like, the things he does and escapes from, he's just someone that you really want to root for. Even though he did start the movie by breaking into a house, but it's kind of one of those moments where you feel for his intentions and the person he is deep down. So you really want to root for this guy. Fun fact, The Collector was originally pitched as a prequel to Saw called The Midnight Man. And while that never happened, you can still feel the Saw DNA, with the trap-filled sadistic energy that's going on throughout this whole movie. And over time, it's built a bit of a cult following with, those gore hounds who are looking for, torture gore or whatever you like to call it nowadays. So it has built a bit of a following, but still it is underrated. You can currently find The Collector streaming on Tubi, Paramount+, Pluto TV, Hulu, and a ton of other places. Our third movie on this list is The Skeleton Key from 2005. This is a Southern Gothic horror story that dives deep into hoodoo and old Southern superstition. The film follows a hospice nurse who takes a job caring for an elderly man in a decaying New Orleans plantation home. As she explores the house and its locked rooms, she begins uncovering dark secrets tied to hoodoo rituals, leading her into a terrifying mystery where nothing is as it seems. This movie is so unique because it doesn't lean on those old horror haunted house tropes. Instead, it dives into its southern atmosphere and voodoo-inspired elements, which sets it apart from other horror categories in the mainstream. The acting is top-notch, with Kate Hudson giving one of her best performances, and the story pays off at the end with a twist that you'll never forget. The big twist at the end is one of the craziest in all of horror, especially around the 2000s. And it's one of those ones that will have you rewatching the movie and trying to think of it and looking up YouTube explained and things like that. And it's still talked about, on Reddit threads and horror circles, even still today. You can currently find The Skeleton Key streaming on Starz, Hulu, Sling TV, and a few other options. The fourth movie on this list is The Boogeyman from 2023. This is a more recent release that seemed to come and go without much buzz, but if you did miss it, I would recommend go checking it out. Based on a short story by Stephen King, the film follows two sisters grieving the loss of their mother while being tormented by a shadowy creature that feeds on fear. As their father struggles to hold the family together, the monster lurking in the dark grows stronger, forcing them to confront it head on. I had a lot of fun with this one, and yeah, sure, it leans into some old horror tropes that we get all the time, but sometimes that's exactly what you want in a movie. A scary monster, creepy atmosphere, and characters that you can actually root for. The design of the creature is unsettling, and there's a lot of scares that make it for a great horror movie watch. I mean, this thing, I saw it in the theaters and I wasn't expecting much. I was just kind of going for fun, and it turned out to be, one of the best movies I watched that year in 2023, and it does get a lot of hate, but I think there's a lot of fun to be had with this movie. The cool thing here is that it expands on Stephen King's short story and still keeps that kind of energy of there's a thing hiding in your closet or there's a monster in your closet. And that kind of sets it apart from other Stephen King adaptations that we've had, like even in recent years. You can currently find The Boogeyman streaming on Hulu, Disney Plus, and Prime Video, to name just a few. And the fifth movie on this list is Haunt from 2019. This is one of the modern slasher films that I absolutely love, and I feel like it does not get as much attention as I feel it deserves. Not at all. Set on Halloween night, a group of friends decide to check out an extreme haunted attraction on the outskirts of town. But what starts as a night of thrills quickly turns deadly, as the masked workers running the haunt prove to be far more terrifying than anything inside. This movie hits all the right horror notes for me. I mean, yeah, it's a slasher at heart, but deep down, it has that haunted house vibe. It kind of feels claustrophobic and closed, and that makes it pretty creepy. I love anything to do with Halloween, and this just has the perfect vibe for me. I mean, it literally takes place on Halloween. We have costumes, we have people going to haunted attractions. We have all of that, great atmosphere, great vibe, and I can never turn down a good Halloween movie. The villains are really creepy with their unique masks and sadistic games that they play, and even the kills are gory enough to satisfy like the most gore hound kind of person. Like, there's some great kills in this movie. On top of that, the cast is great, and the final girl is one of my favorites in recent years for sure. Honestly, this has just become one of my favorite horror films literally ever, and I don't hear enough people talking about it as I think should be. I think everyone in the world should be raving about this movie, but I just never hear the name being thrown out there. Haunt was written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, the same duo who co-wrote A Quiet Place. And the fact that it was released on VOD as well as theaters at the same time is probably why it became more low-key, but it is what it is. It's still wild to me though that a movie this fun and this well-crafted flew under the radar, because for me, it feels like it should be the perfect Halloween season classic. You can currently find Haunt streaming on the Roku channel, Apple TV, and Amazon Prime Video. And that's my list for 5 underrated horror movies you need to watch. But if I had to pick just one to recommend, and just one that I beg you to go watch, if you haven't already, it's definitely Haunt. I love that movie so much, and it's really become one of my favorite movies ever. And just please, grab some friends, throw this movie on, dim the lights, watch it, and then maybe hit up a Halloween haunted house after. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think of these movies, and what horror movies do you feel are underrated that you think deserve more love? Drop it down in the comments below, because I'm always looking for more hidden gems to watch. Please drop a like and hit that subscribe button, or you will realize that the Haunt crew is working at the very next haunted house attraction that you visit. Thank y'all so much for watching, and have a blessed day. Peace!